Hello, hello. Hey, teach my Ash. I know, girl. I know. I'm waiting for my laptop to boot up. I don't know what is going on right now. It's taking forever for some reason to boot up. I never turned it back on the other day after I went live, so it's taking its sweet time booting up. How you doing? Hello, hello. Crystal Longford. Crystal Longchevy. What did she say? Longchevy. How's everybody doing? It's so freaking hot outside. I don't know about where you guys are, but here it is fucking hot. We're supposed to get like a major, um, I was going to say snowstorm, Jesus. My brain, I swear, is not working. We're supposed to get a pretty major heat wave here in the next couple of days. So crazy. I mean, it is hot as hell. It's been really cool out, but I'm fine with the cool weather because I don't like the bugs. So the hotter it gets, the more bugs that come out. And I got these beetles, these like fucking Japanese beetles bombarding my porch every night. I hear them like slamming into the siding and I'm like, oh, I know, I know. All right, so there's people in here. Um, I so I was, just kind of hanging around today. I didn't really do too much exciting stuff, but I was just working on some vessels that I had somebody ordered for me. But anyway, I'm just kind of I wasn't really watching YouTube. I really didn't have it on. And I was like, ooh, I wonder what's going on with the Karen Reed verdict, because I was like, I don't want to just sit there and watch, people talk. And at the time, Melanie Little, she was the only one that was live. And so I just happened to pop her stream on and I'm like, wait a second, there's a verdict coming in. I just happened to like go on the right time. And I'm like, no fucking way. And then all of a sudden they're like, oh, there is a verdict, but there isn't a verdict. And I'm like, well, which one is it? What's going on? And then, you know, sure enough, within a few minutes, I rewound back to see what happened. And then, I realized, oh, it's in. And I got to tell you, I've watched several cases before. I got teary eyed. Like I started to almost cry. I did. I started like welling up because look, I'm not like a hardcore free Karen Reed person, in this like whole big deep conspiracy, but I do feel emotionally invested in the case because if you guys go back on my channel before Turtle Boy blew up on YouTube, okay? I think even before the Glare covered this case. And he's like, I got to give props to Will because I haven't watched all of his coverage, but Will has really dedicated his time, whether you like the Glare or not. You can't deny he dedicated his time to this case and covering it, and he did a great job. And I see him now being, cut in videos with like lawyers, and I kind of laugh because I'm like, Will is so not a lawyer, like he's just like a regular dude. But at the same time, it's kind of good to get regular people's perspectives too, because we're the jurors, we're the potential jurors. But anyway, I covered this case. I talked about the case. If you go back on my channel before anybody else did, not like anybody at all, I'm just saying in our like little community, I showed Turtle Boy's video. He was covering the case, but it wasn't as, I don't think it blew up as much, And so I somehow found his video one day. It just kind of like, I don't remember how I heard of it. It might have been after she did like one of her interviews and it came up in my feed and then I started researching it. So since that time, I feel so emotionally invested in the case. I've been following it since that time, So I think that's why I got so emotional today, because I was like, oh my God, like I've been watching this go on for, 3 years now. I mean, it was pretty early on in the case when I showed the video on my live stream where I talked about it. I don't mean covered. I mean, like when I discovered it, I've been invested in it for such a long time. You guys are having crazy storms. And so I feel like I got emotional today because I'm like, I don't know this lady, but Could you imagine? Her life is ruined. Okay. Whether she's acquitted or not, her life is destroyed. She lost her house. She lost her job. Okay. She lost her, what was she, like some type of professor, like an adjunct? I don't even know what that means. I think it means like part-time, like you're contracted. But anyway, um, you know what I'm saying? Like she lost everything, everything, and her boyfriend, which I don't know if that relationship would have lasted much longer, had he not died that night. But I'm just saying, like, he was a part of her life. She was part of, how it is when you break up with somebody. It's like, you're not just breaking up with them, you're breaking up with their friends, their family, their kids, if they have kids, like whatever it is, it's not just the person that you're breaking up. So she lost all of that, and there's always going to be people that are going to think she did it, whether the court said she did or didn't. His family obviously thinks she did it, and then the other part of me feels so bad for his family, because I'm like, they didn't get any justice. And I mean, his brother's kind of a douche, not gonna lie, but you got to feel bad for the family, regardless of their personalities. You got to feel bad they didn't get justice. So like, what happened to this guy? And does that continue? Are they gonna figure it out, or is this it? It's like, what is this, the end? It's over now, and John O'Keefe never gets justice. What happens from here? Is there still a federal investigation going on into this highly corrupt, police department? Well, I don't know if every single person's corrupt. Somebody was explaining this. I think it was Duty Ron, and he brought up a really great point, or it might have been Ed Wallace, one of them on his panel, or it could have even been an attorney I was listening to. And it really does make sense, because a lot of people think, they're like, oh, what is the whole town of Canton corrupt? All these people kept a secret. No, you're not understanding. This started off from a small group of people, okay? And from there, the information that everybody else got from those people, right? The small group of people, Jen McCabe, Higgins, Brian Albert, okay? And then you got the corrupt fucking douchebag cop. What was his name again? Proctor, right? You got 4 people, let's just say, where this started off from, as this smaller thing, okay, where the story was created from there, and then it kind of spread outward like a cancer. So it's not that everybody's part of the conspiracy or the cover up. It's that they got their information from people that they trusted, and that's how it spread out. And it's not that they're liars necessarily, every single person, although there are a lot of liars in this story. It's that there's a lot of people that are basing their opinions, information, and everything off of those 4 people's stories that came out, so it just kind of spread out. But there's definitely a deeper issue going on in the town of Canton and in the police department, because you look at that Kelly Devers. I just, would I like to slap that bitch, right? But she testified, and clearly somebody got to her. How do you have a made up fucking memory? How does that happen? I mean, that is some made up memory, that she saw 2 people, very specific, two men who were involved in the case. Well, the chief, and then one guy that's involved in the case, in the carport, for a wildly long time, as she said. And then the next day, she has a meeting with the police commissioner, which is, from what I understand, not very typical for a cadet, a rookie, to be like, even, I guess, associating with the police commissioner like that, in that way. And all of a sudden, oh, it's a false memory. Sorry. Like, she told the FBI, because it was probably one of those things that, when something like happens like that, you're like, oh, I just got to tell somebody. You go tell one person, they tell the FBI, and then she realized her ass was going to be grass if she stuck with that story. And so she changed her story, but she didn't want to be perjured. So, they gave her an excuse. Oh, I made that up. It was the wrong day. I clocked out the wrong time. You know what I'm saying? And like, that right there to me is huge in this whole entire case, because what was going on? What were they doing in the carport? You mix that with all the other questionable shit that happened. I just hope that they investigate, whether it's a private investigator that looks into this or whoever it is. Somebody needs to find out what happened to this man. He didn't just end up with these scratches on his arm, dead on somebody's front lawn by accident. Hey, Nana. So they got the info from Jen McCabe and Trooper Proctor. Right. I went with that, but we all know how to do stuff. We all know he knows how to do stuff properly. We just have to look at the Brian Walsh case, right? And then you got that other case. Oh my God, what's the girl? The girl that story's really fucked up. That they made it look like a suicide. Oh my God, I'm having a total brain fart. I want to say Sandra, but I might be totally off. Birchmore, right? Birchmore. Sandra Birchmore. Is that the girl's name? That's another case in this, that's tied in. So very interesting shit. There's something going on, obviously. And for people who can't believe it, who are like, no, there's no such thing. That would never happen. Then you don't know what you're talking about, because go look up the Martin Tankless case that happened right here on Long Island, just 5 miles away from my house. Well, maybe a little more than 5 miles. Okay. It's about a 10-minute ride. In fact, I just took my son down in that area, which is called, Belterre. It's like a super rich, area. I just took him. We rode through there, recently, showing him all the big houses and telling him what happened in the story. This, young man, 17 years old, graduating high school, right? It's like the last day of school. He's ready to go, to school and finish his high school career, go to college. He wakes up in the morning, and goes downstairs, and there's a bloody massacre downstairs. Both his parents are dead. Okay. He calls 911. He falsely confesses. And before he falsely confesses, the police already pinned it on him. They already pinned it on him. This guy didn't have a fighting chance. Then he ended up falsely confessing, I believe. I forget. I read his book like years ago, but I kind of, forget all the details. But it ends up 17 years later, he got exonerated. And then it goes a lot deeper. You have to read his book. I don't remember all the details, but it goes so much deeper. Between, you had a detective that was corrupt, you had a judge that was corrupt. Well, I don't know. I don't necessarily know if the judge was corrupt, but there was people in the case, in the police department, and the corruption. And then you could fast forward to the Rex Heuermann case, where more corruption happened. And this is just in my police department here. So if people think this shit doesn't happen, it does. It absolutely does. What's crazy is Ocanton's such a small, it's such a small department, but, Suffolk's huge. But, it happens. It happens. My theory is John O'Keefe went down to the basement, the dog jumped on him. That's what I think, Nana. I think he either walked into the garage or the basement. I think something happened. I think words were exchanged. I don't think anybody ever meant to kill him. I just think that, it was an accident. And then from there, it just took on a life of its own. But he definitely fell. I definitely think those are from a dog. I can't imagine what else they would be from, the scratches on his arm. I mean, if that didn't happen, if those scratches weren't on his arm, I think most people would be like, oh, he got hit by a car. But then you have to question why there was no broken bones, no bruising and shit like that. But the scratches on his arm and the way that they're situated, the pattern of them, it just doesn't add up. And you don't need to be a dog bite expert. You don't need to be a forensic investigator. You don't need to be any of that. It's just kind of common sense. You're like, how the fuck did that happen from a taillight? It just doesn't add up. It's just that when his arm hits the taillight, it's smooth. And then, it breaks, but would you get maybe a scratch or two? Sure, but not like that. That's insane. And I mean, they did the testing and it didn't go through the shirt. That's a problem. It's a huge problem. They did several tests, and not in not one of their tests did the pieces go through the shirt. That's a fucking huge problem. You need to explain that. But without that, I don't think she ever would have gotten off. Without that, and video of her backing up into his taillight, I don't think she ever would have got off on this case. I think she would be spending the rest of her life in jail. But here's the scarier part. Here's the absolute scarier part. I was saying this to my husband before because I'm like, if that was me or you, we'd be fucked, right? Karen Reed had a really good job. She made a lot of money. She was a very independent woman, had her own house, like her and John were not financially tied to each other. They didn't have kids together. They weren't tied. She was completely independent of this man. You know what I'm saying? And then I don't know, I think her parents like kind of had money from what it seems, but she was really lucky that she was able to hire these attorneys. Between David and Eddie, I honestly, the superstar of her team was Alan Jackson, hands down. That man he's great. People don't like him, and that's great, but I'm sorry, you cannot deny that man is, number one, an amazing attorney, but number two, really passionate about his job. You could feel his emotions in that closing argument at the end of the trial. I've never seen a closing argument quite like that in a trial. But what did she do for a living? She was like she worked in finance, so some at some type of bank. I forgot which, like, big company. I don't know if it was like Merrill Lynch or like something like that. I forget which one, but something like that. And then she also was an adjunct, I can't say the word, professor for some college. I don't remember which college. I'm like bad at remembering little details like that, but she had a great job. She made tons of money. She's driving a Lexus truck, but she lost all that shit. All that's gone. It's all gone. Her house, her truck, everything's gone. It's really sad. But anyway, but if this happened to a normal person who didn't have the means to afford Alan Jackson and David Giannetti, and I don't know why they added on the third attorney, because I didn't follow much in between the two trials. I didn't follow a lot of the pre-motion, stuff. But why they added in that third attorney? What's his name? Oh my God, I'm having a total brain fart right now. Holy shit, Robert Alessi. Why'd they add him in? It was very strange, but he was really good too. And passionate, but I just think Alan Jackson's obviously he was the one who stood out in the case. But anyway, you know what I'm saying? Like, she was able to afford, plus all the funding, from strangers, complete strangers, helping her pay for this trial, basically. But, normal person like myself, I wouldn't be able to afford an attorney like that to pay for my, legal fees. I'd be fucked. I'd get a fucking, court-appointed attorney, and that would be it. It would be over. I'd be spending the rest of my life in jail, even if I was innocent in a case like that, because there's no way, I don't know if any other attorney could have put on a case like that. Maybe. It was funny because a couple of the attorneys that I follow on here, they did their own closing arguments for the case, and they weren't even close to what Alan Jackson did in this case. So that guy definitely has a talent, for his job. But Alessi is actually, he works here in New York, and he's a corporate attorney. I forget which corporation it is, but because again, I'm not good. Oh my God, I couldn't believe the sound of the crowd outside. You could hear it from inside the courtroom when they were reading the not guilty. I am shocked. I'm not shocked, but I had a feeling after obviously the questions yesterday that she was going to get charged with the DUI or OUI or whatever. But I was like, we'll see. But I was like, I don't know if I could personally convict her. I guess based off her statement, she obviously said she was drinking and had drinks. So I guess, but I don't know. I feel like for me to want to convict somebody of that, I would need to see that their blood alcohol level, was whatever. I feel like the jury just probably had sympathy for the family and didn't want to let her walk away scot-free, from the night. So they just charged her with that. Because, as a jury, you have to feel bad that, you sat in the courtroom for 30 something days, a month, and you looked at this grieving family. The mother was very theatrical in the courtroom, from what I understand, you know, and not, you know, not overly, just, you know, a lot of crying and stuff. But, you know, you got to feel bad that they're walking away with their, I mean, just even knowing what else this poor mother's been through, you know, between losing her daughter, then the son-in-law, you know, and then now her other son. I mean, that is tragic. That is like a lot of tragedy for one family to handle. And then to go through this, you know, huge court case that's, you know, all over the internet, people, millions of people following. I mean, I went into Melanie Little had about 50,000 people in her chat, 50,000. And then I went into Emily D. Baker went live and she had about 50,000. And I'm like, that right there is 100,000 people that are watching just between these two live streams right now. You know, that's not counting like Court TV and Law and Crime and all these others. Like, there was a lot of people focused on this trial, plus all the people outside the building. I mean, there's a lot of eyes on this, you know, situation. The judge was pissed. She's an asshole, Bev. Thank God I don't have to. Oh my God. I hope they all got investigated. I don't. I heard that the investigation was closed. I don't believe it. First of all, the feds never really tell you when they close an investigation, so I don't know. I don't buy it. I don't buy it. But I guess that, you know, remains to be seen. Are these people going to be, you know, further investigated? I told I think it was the Glare yesterday. I was like, you should do like a Where Are They Now stream, like in like a year. Like, where's Kelly Devers? You know, is she still a Boston cop? What's Proctor doing now? What's his job? What do you do when you're fired as a police officer? You know, where do you go? What kind of work do you do after that? I mean, is he like working on like a construction site somewhere? God, could you imagine having to explain that to your children? It's very, very hard to get fired as a police officer. I mean, it is hard. They do not punish and fire police officers very easily. So for that guy to end up in the position that he's in, whew, he fucked up big time. She said no one fought harder for justice for John O'Keefe than I have. She's right. Someone is guilty. It's not her. Yeah, it's true. It's 100% true. She didn't do it. It's proven. You know. So where she goes from here, I'm sure she'll write a book. There's still a case pending, I believe, with the mother who's suing her for something. But good luck collecting on that. And you know, and that's it. But her life is gonna be forever changed. I mean, I just don't know, how do you come back from something like this? How does John O'Keefe's family refute physics and science? They won't see it no matter what. You know what it is? It's like with death, I can kind of understand where they're coming from, because it's like when my mom passed away, obviously, you know, my emotions were just so heightened at that time, you know? So it's like you're angry. It's the normal phases that you go through during grief, right? They say that there's like 5 stages. It doesn't always happen in the same exact order, but it's like you go through, you know, anger, bargaining, and then, you know, you finally get to the acceptance stage, which is the stage that feels like never ever gonna fucking come when you're actually grieving, but it does. But you know, there, I don't remember the other two, but I'm just saying, anger is a huge, you know, part of it. And I feel like, you know, you want to just blame somebody because your brain is just not equipped to like handle, like, why is this happening right now? You know, like my mom obviously died from cancer, but I was like, why? Just like, why did this all fucking happen? And so, like, you know, things that probably normally wouldn't have gotten me so angry got me 10 times more angry at that time, because my emotions were so heightened during that time. You know, when I look back now, I feel, you know, I still feel justified in some of it, but some of it, I can see that I was just an emotional mess at the time. And so, you know, you just like, I can't explain. You just like want closure and answers or something. And it's kind of like you go through a process of like blaming everything, yourself, other people, like whatever it is. And I feel like for them, they just want that closure, that answer of like what happened to him. And like that is that's the only thing that they have, is that I think the dad, I heard his father doesn't think she did it. I think he's the only one in the whole family, that thinks that she didn't do it. But pretty much the whole rest of the family believes that she's guilty. So, hey, Black Eagle, long time no see. Oh, thank you, Black Eagle. So yeah, I don't know. It's like it's very hard to say. Why the family is so stuck on that. I feel like it's just because it's it's the easiest thing for them to accept, to blame her, rather than trying to process what happened on top of like how it happened, if that makes sense. I don't know. I really think I don't know if there's studies or anything, but I have to say, when you're going through grief, there has to be some type of chemical change in your brain. There has to be. If they studied it, I don't know if there's any studies, but something happens and your thinking is just not fucking right. It's not. And it kills me because people would be like, "Oh, she's not upset. She's not crying." And I'm like, dude, that's not how grief works. You don't fucking cry all the time. That I didn't cry. Like, I don't know. People just automatically think, oh, somebody died, grief, sad, crying. That's not how it works. You're not fucking crying all day. I'm not saying that, some people don't. It depends. Everybody's different. Everybody processes things different. Everybody deals with things differently. So like, I don't know. I didn't cry all the time when my mom passed away. When she first passed away, I did. Then I went through a stage where I felt emotionally numb. I felt like I had no emotions. Like I just couldn't feel anything. I was sad. I was deeply sad, but I felt it was very strange. It was a very, very, very weird time because I didn't know what to feel. And I almost felt like I had nothing. I felt like a zombie. Like it's so hard to explain. Like I was like, is something wrong with me? Like, cause I never had that. I'm a pretty emotional person, who like kind of wears their heart on their sleeves. And like, I'm not afraid to show my emotions. And during that time, it was like so weird because I felt like I just didn't have any. I felt so stunned and like, I don't know, blank feeling. I can't explain it. I guess I was in shock, even though I knew she was sick, for a period of time. It's just like nothing could really prepare you for when a person's not going to be here, like somebody that you're that close with. And so, you know, I always kind of like laugh when people are like, oh, she's not crying. Cause I'm like, that's not like, not everybody's like that. You just don't cry all the time. That's just not how it is. I'm able to talk about things that are hard like that without crying. At home, I would cry. At night by myself, I would cry, but I'm not really like a crier to begin with. Some people are. Some people are very emotional and they cry all the time, and that's how their sadness comes out. But not everybody's sadness comes out through crying, is basically what I'm saying. Like some people just don't cry a lot. And that doesn't mean that they're not sad. I was incredibly sad for such a long period of time. I almost felt like I cried so much at the beginning. I couldn't cry anymore. It was like, I don't know. I don't know how to explain it. But it's a really fucking weird feeling, you know? And it's gone now. Like I don't feel like that anymore, but I did for a while. It was hard. It was not a good feeling. So, I mean, people are like, oh, she's not upset. And I'm like, she's been going through this for 3 years. I mean, 3 years into your grief process, you shouldn't be crying every day. If you are, then you have what's called complex grief or whatever they call it. It's a diagnosis in the DSM now, or complicated grief rather. But 3 years out from a situation, from losing somebody, you shouldn't be crying every day. You should be starting to emotionally accept and be able to heal, and obviously you're still going to have times of sadness, but it's not going the feelings are going to taper off after a while. They're not going to be as intense. It's just like anything else. If you get angry, something pisses you off, you're not going to stay that initial anger. You're not going to hold that initial anger for years. Eventually it's going to taper off and you're not going to be as angry anymore, after the situation passes. So I think that's a little bit, of what is going on. Plus, she just doesn't strike me as the type of person who's overly emotional to begin with. The first Father's Day after my dad died hit me like the most horrible feeling. My dad wasn't here anymore. Yeah, that's how, for me, it was my son's birthday. After my mom passed away and my son's birthday came, we got through Christmas. I went into like autopilot during Christmas. And then when my son's birthday hit on New Year's Eve, I was just like, what the fuck happened? That's when it hit me. Like a ton of bricks, And then it took years for me to start feeling like a normal human again. After it takes so fucking long, dude. That's why whenever I know friends right now that are going through grief, and I'm like, oh my god, because it's just like, I know what they're going through. Obviously everybody's dealt with grief, but I'm just saying, like, it's such a long process. It is. It's a very long process, especially when it's somebody very close to you that you're losing, that you're used to having in your everyday life. You wake up in the morning, that person's there. You go to bed at night, that person's there. Or you talk to them every single day. They're a huge, like my mom was a huge part of my life. Even though we didn't live together anymore, I talked to her every day, multiple times a day. When things happened, I would call her sometimes before I call my husband to let her know first. It's like, so I mean, it's sad, very sad. Oh my god, this dog's in a nonstop bark. Come on, inside, let's go. My neighbor's like excavating his backyard right now. But it's such a long process. And then could you imagine on top of that having to fight for your freedom? You're grieving, and then you have to fight for your freedom. Who even knows if she even was able to deal with her grief? Karen Reed, when you're going through something like that, and I didn't go through anything even close to that, but I'm just saying, like, when my mom passed and I had to do her estate, that shit was all a distraction away from my grief at the time. I wasn't really fully dealing with it, until when that ended, then I felt like I took on a year period of time where I actually grieved her loss, because it was like, I was so worried about everything else that I wasn't even focusing on like my feelings and processing what happened. I did, but I didn't, And so maybe her time to grieve now is now, after the fact, after everything's over, because everything's going to die down now. It's going to, right now she's on a high. She'll probably do some interviews and shit. And then it's going to hit her. Reality is going to set in. Alan Jackson's going to go back to California. You know what I'm saying? David Yannetti's going to be, she spent every day with these people, but they're going to go back to their lives now. David Yannetti's going to go back to his law office and, do cases. All these people that were part of her life for the last 3 years are now going to be gone. And she's going to be left alone to deal with this shit. And it's going to be really fucking hard, dude. No, you never do, Nana. You never get over it. And maybe she hasn't even had the time to sit down and process her grief and really think like, what the fuck happened that night. I'm sure she thought about it, but once you're done with all the distraction and you really have time to sit and think, it's different. Totally different. It's just so sad. The whole story is so sad because, nobody wins in this situation. He lost his life. Something happened that night, and nobody knows. I always wondered, like, what if he was just like attacked by like a coyote or something? Like, not outside. I've heard people say that before, but like, what if that happened? What if he was like knocking on the door and all of a sudden a fucking coyote like started chasing him or something and just bit his arm? They don't really typically attack humans though. It's very rare that they do. But something happened with that fucking dog. Maybe he went to go knock on the door in the house and he fucking went around the gate. Who knows? And he fell and hit his head. Something happened to that man. They need to figure out what happened to him. You know, they really do. I want to hear from the people that think that she's guilty, though. Where are their heads at? Like Plevin. Plevin, that guy's such an idiot. I don't know if you guys like followed it like that closely. I've been watching so many different creators on this topic. And, you know, I'm like, what's going on here? This guy's a fucking idiot. I don't what's the channel name? Little Yellow Cottage Tales or some shit like that. As soon as I turned that guy on, I was like, oh, this guy's a fucking idiot. Dude, you ate already. You're not going to trick me again. What do you want, water? I'll give you water, but you're not eating again. I fed you at 5:30. Was it even a dog? Maybe it was a raccoon. Those suckers are mean. I don't know. And maybe that's why everybody's so confused. Maybe something else fucking killed him and it was nobody in that house. You know what I'm saying? Nobody in the house. Maybe it wasn't even a person. But then it's like you gotta, you know, say, how did he end up on the lawn where he did? That's the problem. Because that's what I keep in my head. I'm like, all right, if something happened, like, why was he standing on that part of the lawn? How did that happen? How did he get there? You know, I guess you got to kind of work backwards. I don't know. But getting hit by a car in the way that they said he did, even if somebody in here the other day said, even if he got hit by a snowplow or something, let's just say, right? Because that was one of the things I thought early on. I could see, I don't know, I saw a situation in my head, like maybe Higgins was leaving, right, that night. And he got in his car and he had the plow and he was like fucking around. You know, John was outside, maybe came outside to check out the fucking plow because you know how men are, like, yo, dude, let me see your plow. Like, you know how guys are. Like, they like looking at shit like that, you know? And then Higgins, like, accidentally hits him with the plow, right? And dragged him. But then I'm like, okay, but then he would have drag marks on his, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm trying to think of all these different scenarios in my head of what could have actually happened to him. But I'm like, you know, you have to also look at the evidence that they have and what was on his body and what wasn't on his body. And I'm like, that doesn't make sense because there's no like drag marks anywhere. You know, you would think if a vehicle hit you and like you got stuck somewhere and you were dragged by the vehicle or pushed by a vehicle, you would have, you know, there would be signs of that and your clothing would be torn or at least worn out, or there would be streaks of dirt or rocks or something, you know, and that's not the case in his case. And so it's like something else happened. And the only thing that makes sense to me is like what Nana said in the chat earlier, that something attacked his arm, you know, a dog, okay, bit him a whole shit ton of times because that's where police dogs are trained to go, right for the fucking arm, right where he's fucking, right exactly where his cuts are. If you look at if you watch police dog training videos, that's exactly where they go. They go right for your arm. They're trained to bite the arm, you know, right where he was bitten. And so, you know, it makes the most sense. It does. And then, you know, the thing on the back of his head is really what killed him. I mean, those scratches on his arm wouldn't have killed him. He would have been fine. You know, it's that hit on the back of the head, which was explained that it had to be a ridged surface, you know, and Hank Brennan's trying to say, oh, you know, maybe there was a rock standing out on the grass, but there was no evidence of that. So, you know, yeah, 9 round holes in his sweatshirt. That explained that. Something pierced through the sweatshirt and it wasn't plastic. Whether I don't buy the plastic that was in his sweatshirt. First of all, here's another reason why I don't believe it. They lived on a very busy road, and I don't know if you've ever like walked along the side of the road on busy roads like that, but I have a feeling, not that the road was busy. I'm saying it's a double lined road, which means that the speed limit's probably a little bit higher than 30. It might be like a 40 mile per hour speed limit, but there's like bits like, I know, because when I grew up next to a road like that, and like I used to walk it all the time to go to my friends' houses, and there was always like bits of like tail light pieces and like debris, just random like ground up debris on the side of the road, like up here, especially because they use like sand, during the winter. So there's always sand all over our roads, and it usually washes down towards like the curb, so like, because it, flows down towards the sewer when it rains and shit. So you'll always see like a lot of sand with like all random different little pieces in it, colors, so um I mean, that could have been from anywhere, that shit that was in his shirt. I mean, they were like such tiny particles under a microscope. These little red particles. How do you even know that was part of the fucking taillight? Like, you would think if he got cut by the taillight, some of the pieces would be like embedded in his skin and in the shirt and something, but they didn't find any of that. And then make it make sense that there was pig DNA on his arm. I mean, who knows? Did he eat at the bar? Did he have fucking a pulled pork sandwich and, fucking wipe his, sleeve? I don't know. Or his arm? I don't know. But some dog collars have reflectors. That is true. Very true. But you know what I'm saying? It's like there's so many like different possibilities of what could have happened with his arm, like, or with those little particles being in his shirt, if they were even in fact found in his shirt, because they could have gotten picked up from anywhere. They could have been from the floor of Proctor's car, because he fucking just threw the, clothes in his car. Who knows? It just, it's like, that guy took no care. You could see it in the hospital video. I remember they showed it the last trial, and I'm not sure if they showed it this trial. I don't know if it was a video or photographs. I forgot. But I remember seeing in the last trial, because I specifically remember a line of questioning while he was on the stand where Alan Jackson's asking him, like, what's this? What's that? They're looking at his socks, which I think they lost his socks somehow, which is bizarre. And they're like, he's asking all these questions about the hospital, and his clothes were just laying on the floor at the hospital. And like right there, it could have picked up shit. You'd have some construction guy walking in with boots. I know my house gets filled with sand all the time, because my husband's like, you could tell where my husband walks the most, because there's always the most sand there. I mean, when I pull my thing out, like the laundry thing for the lint, there's sand in there, because at work he gets sand in his pockets, it's in his clothes. So I mean, it could have been on the floor at the hospital where his shirt was laying, that he could have picked up little particles of something. It's like, I don't know where his socks went. They seemingly lost his socks. It's just crazy. I don't know how his family is not fucking enraged with Proctor. That's who they should be fucking suing, honestly. Instead of suing Karen Reed, his family should be suing the police department, the Massachusetts State Police Department. That's who they should be suing. Stop it. Why are you going in there? So, instead of suing her, because they're the ones who failed this man. They're the ones who didn't properly investigate his death. That's who they should be suing at the end of the day. Completely failed this man in every way, shape, or form that they can. They failed him. And it's so sad. They didn't do a proper investigation from the very beginning. They didn't go in the house. They didn't secure the crime scene. There's no chain of custody on any of the evidence. It's just really sad. Oh, hey, Ash. Ash, you're the biggest liar. I just needed to tell you that. Just needed to let you know. Laura was like, I don't know if you saw her fucking post, because like, I guess you got something mixed up, because God forbid. It's like, I don't know if I wouldn't call you a liar. I would say, oh, you forgot. That's all. You got something mixed up. Happens. Laura does it all the time. Gets shit wrong. She called you like the biggest liar ever. I was like, holy shit, girl, calm the fuck down. I'm like, biggest liar. They should be pissed at Proctor and his supervisor Bukaki. Yeah, exactly. That's exactly who they should be fucking. That's who they should be gunning for. Is those guys, because they completely failed them, failed him, and everybody else. And Hank Brennan, because he fucking failed too. And Lally, Adam Lally, is that his name? God, he was horrible. You know, I didn't know. I heard about Hank Brennan. I know he represented that guy Whitey Bulger, but I really never looked into the story. Last night I found an interview. Boy, was that fucking interesting. If you just put his name into the YouTube search, you'll find it. It's like the first video that pops up. In regards to that case, he represented Whitey Bulger, I guess, who's like I don't know, some Irish mobster. I didn't watch the entire interview because it was kind of boring and I didn't really I didn't really know, all the details of the case. But what he was saying in the beginning of the interview was there was some type of, I don't know the whole story, but there was obviously some type of government corruption and cover up going on in that case. And he was on the other side in that case, right? Fighting against the corruption and exposing it. And so it's like when you hear that and then you think of this case, you're like, dude, do you actually like believe in what you preach, or are you just ready to take $1 from any client that'll pay you? I don't know. Do attorneys do that? I don't know. I don't know much about attorneys, but do they like reject cases? If they don't believe somebody is innocent, would they be like, fuck this? I can't represent this person because I don't believe in their innocence. Like, does that happen? I don't know. I don't know much about how that'll work. So yeah, he was a snitch for the FBI, but I don't know. Yeah, I don't know all the ins and outs of the story. Hey, Alicia, I don't know. I don't know all the ins and outs of everything, but I'm like, wow. Oh, speaking of fucking drama people, fucking Tracy leaves a comment under my post the other day. She comes over here and leaves a comment under my post. And she's like, I'm like, what the fuck is wrong with this lady? Like, I have to wonder. She leaves this comment under my post, and it was the one about Laura, how with beef eggs and everything. And she's like, didn't you say something about Marsha White Sharkey dying? Didn't you and Laura say something, mean to Marsha White Sharkey? And I'm like, once again, that was not me. I was on panel, I think, with Laura. I don't even know if I was on panel with her. But yeah, that wasn't me. I'm not responsible for words that come out of other people's mouths. Laura said something to Marsha. And in fact, I thought it was, it's been so long. I know it was either her or Tiffany, because I know Tiffany might have said something not so nice to her either. But both times, guess who didn't say it? Me. Guess who didn't say it? Me. Because she was like, I don't know what she was trying to prove by doing that. But she like left this comment. And I'm like, well, once again, you're fucking wrong, but have a nice day, Tracy. Like, she came over here thinking she had a point, and I'm like, yeah, but that wasn't me, dude. So like, now you just sound stupid. It wasn't me. I didn't say it. Laura did. I didn't say anything like that to Marsha. I think it's the same thing that Laura said to a lot of people. Like, oh, aren't you supposed to be dead? Aren't you dying? People who are dealing with like terminal illnesses or, serious illnesses. I think that's what was said. But I'm like, once again, Tracy, you have your fucking information wrong. As per usual, right? She was always calling me a liar. Ash never lies. Like, I'm pretty sure Ash is pretty, you're pretty accurate most of the time with things. But some of the shit that these people bring up are things that happened how many years ago? That it's like, you think I fucking remember like some random panel with Laura from like 5 years ago where she said something like, I don't know. I couldn't even remember if it was her or Tiffany. That's how long ago it was. I was like, I know it wasn't me. That's what I do know, is that it wasn't me who said that. It was either Tiffany or it was Laura. It was one of the two. So I asked other people, because I was like, my memory is not the best, especially for shit like that. but I know I didn't say it. That's all I know, because I remember being on or panel or in the chat when whoever it was said it, and I was like, oh my God, dude, why would you say that? Like, I'm thinking in my head, like, why? Just why? Why would you say that? Hold on, let me see. Ash saying, wrap her car around a tree is no different than take a long walk off a short pier. Yeah, that's kind of true. Laura has said the word. Yeah. And I'm like, all right, dude, but they're just fucking words. Like, honestly, at the end of the day, sticks and stones. It's just that, has everybody here had a snafu where they have, maybe said something that was a little overboard and mean? Absolutely. We've all done it. I've done it. Everybody's done it. But the difference is that for the most part, I try not doing that, and then you got people like Laura who just consistently do it. I mean, it's just like, it's all the time, all the fucking time, all the time. There's like so many examples. Like, yeah, you could bring up, even if I did say that, okay, fine. You could bring up that one example that I might have said 5 years ago to Marsha White Sharkey, which I didn't say, but I'm just saying, let's just play devil's advocate here and say, okay, yeah, I did say it. And you know what I'm saying? 5 years ago, find another thing like that I've said in the last 5 years to somebody like that. But I didn't say it. It was Laura. But I'm just saying, like, like fucking, okay. And so, everybody's allowed to have a moment where they're going to fucking, get angry and maybe have a little fucking outburst and say some stupid shit. We're all going to have those moments. It's just like how they try to compare Alicia calling the cops on Corey, which again, I don't fucking agree with, and I personally wouldn't do, but I also wasn't in her position at the time. Corey's fucking relentless. In fact, here's a great example. The other night, she admitted in the chat, I have a screenshot of her comment. She admitted in Laura's chat the other day that had she known how my friend's child died, she's like, she wrote this in Laura's chat the other night. She goes, oh, I didn't even know how he passed away, but had I known it, I would have used it a long time ago. That's how she thinks, that motherfucker. That's how her brain operates, Corey. She's like, oh, I would have used it. Like, in other words, like, she would have used it against her a long time ago. Like, what the fuck is wrong with you? But they're trying to compare Alicia calling the cops on Corey, which, again, I personally wouldn't do. But I could, it's not the same as Laura calling CPS, because she called the cops. First of all, she told her she was going to call the cops. Okay. She warned her. She didn't lie. She didn't make up a story. Okay. She didn't go after Corey's child or husband that wasn't here. She called in reference to what Corey was doing online. That's why she called. And she was open and honest about it. She didn't lie about it for 3 years. She didn't cover it up for 3 years. She didn't fucking blame other people for 3 years. She didn't go on panels talking about how horrible it is to call cops on people for 3 years. She didn't do that. Would I take a step like that? No, I wouldn't. But you really can't compare the two things, because Corey fucking harasses people, dude. Straight up. Straight the fuck up. Go look at her fucking page. She does harass people. She threatens people. She has threatened me several times. Am I going to call cops on her? No, because she's not worth it. But I also wasn't dealing with, a cancer diagnosis at the time and other things that were stressing my life out. So I don't know how I would have felt at that time in her position, but I probably still wouldn't have done it. But I'm just saying, it's not really the same thing. It's not really the same thing. If you're calling for like an honest, legitimate reason and you feel threatened by somebody, that's completely different than just falsifying a story and calling up and just lying to the authorities because you want people to shut up and, because your feelings are hurt. It's a little different. It's a little different. Just a little. So I don't think it's the same. If it's not harassment, then why does she take all the videos down about me? The cops listen to everything. Good point. I mean, she harasses people, Corey. She's known for it. So, she says horrible fucking things. Is it illegal? No. But, at a certain point when she's tagging you every fucking day, that's basically considered unwanted attention, right? And could be considered harassment. Because I know me personally, I've asked her several times to stop fucking tagging me and leave me the fuck alone. And she continues to tag me. And it's like, girl, I don't want to talk to you. Like, you could talk about me all fucking day on your page. Go for it. But I don't want to talk to you. I don't want to have a fucking conversation with you. So could you please stop trying to get my attention and tagging me? It doesn't even matter, Alicia. Just the whole point is, it's not really the same as what Laura did. You know how, no matter how you try to twist it and bend it, it's just not the same. It's just like when Fad called CPS on Brian St. John. I hate bringing this up because he'll come out of the fucking woodworks, right? But it is kind of the, she didn't lie to CPS. She called and told them something that she observed happening. Now, again, I don't agree with calling in that situation, but I've always said this about that specific situation. She didn't lie. She didn't make a story up. She called, and it was an actual observation that she made on, on YouTube. Would I have called CPS over that? No, absolutely not, because it's a little extreme in my opinion, what happened. But something happened on his stream with the kid, and that's why she called, so that's why you shouldn't have your fucking kids on this stream. What Laura did, again, doesn't even compare, because she literally fabricated an entire story that wasn't true at all. At all. Yes, what Laura did was illegal. She made a false report. Just like when Oni called the cops, false report. None of what he said was happening to me was actually happening. I didn't have a gun in my house. I wasn't suicidal. I wasn't drunk. I wasn't suicidal. So none of that happened. So that was a false report. So it's a little different when you're calling. Either way, I personally don't agree with it. But I'm just saying there's a difference when it comes down to somebody just completely bullshitting and making a story up, which is legal. And then somebody, just saying exactly what happened. So, I mean, it's fucking YouTube. And, some people are just cop callers in nature. They're going to call the cops for every little fucking thing. And it's distressing, obviously, when you're being doxxed and your family's being, whatever. Yeah, it's distressing. I don't, I understand why people get upset and call police in situations like that. If they're feeling like, somebody's putting my information out and they're harassing me and my chat, it could lead to potentially, worse things, then yeah, I mean, if you're feeling distressed in the situation like that, you have every right to contact the authorities. If somebody's causing you that type of distress, right? And then be honest with them, though. That's the difference. When you're lying and making up a fucking story, that's totally different. Okay, yeah, you might be feeling distressed, but Laura knew. She called up CPS and said, what else was she gonna say? She had no other choice but to make a fucking story up, because she knows there's nothing going on and my child's fine in my home. So she had no other choice but to make some bullshit story up to shut me up. That's different. Ooh, what the fuck? Hold on, sorry, something just popped up on my screen. If you're genuinely concerned for somebody, that's different. Like, again, I don't agree with either case. I've always said that, when it comes to Fod's call or Dumpy Dump, who also, what she reported, she didn't make a report up. She didn't make stuff up. She told exactly what happened on the stream. She didn't lie. Did I agree with it? No, because I thought, you're just I don't think his children are in danger. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, I was wrong, but it's different in my opinion than calling up and just completely fucking lying, dude. Her mouth is moving, she's lying. Yeah, pretty much. Can I come up on panel? I don't even know. Who are you? Probably not. Just being honest. I'm on my phone right now, but yeah. So I mean, it's a little different. In a court of law, like if Fod, let's just say, if they wouldn't be able to press charges against her in that situation because she didn't falsify a story. She explained exactly what she observed. She had evidence to back it up, you know, on the stream. Do I think it was a worthy call? No, not at all. You know, could it have been being done partially out of spite? Probably. But, you know, she didn't lie. She just called maybe being a little bit of a fucking Karen, you know, and not exaggerating, but, you know, making something that was okay, yes, not the best parenting thing to do, making it into a little bit more of what it was, you know. I don't think it was worthy of, you know, a fucking CPS visit would happen. I mean, come on, that's a little dramatic. I would never do anything illegal. I wouldn't either. It's not worth it, dude. You know, who cares? Who the fuck cares? I say document everything. That way, if anything happens, again, you're grounds to file malicious harassment. Yeah, well, everybody asks, like, why I hold on to, like, screenshots on my phone from certain people. Well, I mean, you know, if you have somebody, like, tagging you every day, fucking writing all this crazy shit about you, like, I don't know this person. I don't know if they're going to show up at my house with a fucking gun. You know what I'm saying? I mean, dude, seriously, this person's very fucking angry with me. You know, I hurt them in some way, shape, or form, whoever the fuck it is, right? And there's been more shit that I haven't even talked about that has happened that I'll never talk about on here, but I'm just saying, this person has done things, okay, that lead me to believe that they're mentally unwell. So of course I'm going to keep a fucking record of all the crazy shit they're writing, because God forbid something happens to me, at least there's a trail, you know, of what happened. I would do that in my real life. I would do, you know, somebody was sending me harassing text messages every day, writing crazy shit. What do you think? I'm going to delete them? No, I'm going to fucking save that shit. Don't let anybody fucking gaslight you into thinking you're like weird for saving things like that, because I'm sorry, it's for your own protection to fucking save shit like that. Somebody fucking writing about you every fucking day. I mean, that's not normal, dude. I'm sorry. And if anybody thinks it is, well, I mean, I'm not famous or anything, but I could understand if I was like some public figure who was like super famous and you were writing about me. I get it, but like I'm just like a normal person who fucking goes live on YouTube once or twice a week. Like, I'm not that interesting, you know. But like, you know, it's a little disturbing that you're that fucking like bothered by me when like you're choosing to watch me on a daily basis. But like, why wouldn't I save all the crazy shit you're fucking writing every day? What the who you are? You know, Laura knows me. I talk about her, yeah, but she knows who I am, dude. She knows what I look like. She knows, you know, she knows where I live. We've talked on the phone. She's heard my voice. You got this like weirdo hiding behind a fucking, you know, a veil of anonymity, writing all this crazy shit about you. I don't know if you're somebody from my real life, somebody from the internet, but whoever the fuck you are, you're, you know, what did I do to you, dude? Like, seriously, because I don't buy that this person was so mad at me for fucking 2 years that they wrote about me every single day over, you know, because I talk about Laura. I'm sorry, I don't buy it. So it's either you're somebody who is just psychotic, like Corey, who, you know, just gets like that with people, or, you know, you're somebody, I don't know, maybe, how do I know you don't live around the fucking corner from me? You're just some weird stalker. Like, I don't fucking know if you're going to show up at my fucking door one day or follow me somewhere. I have no idea. You're hiding behind a fake account. Who, I don't know who you are. I don't know where the fuck you came from, or what the fuck your problem is, you know? So why would I not save what you're fucking writing to me? Because I don't know who the fuck you are. If you're somebody from my real life, which honestly, if there's only one person I could think of that it would be from my real life that would be that angry with me. Like, one person that would fucking be capable of doing that. So But yeah, I'm gonna fucking keep everything you write, motherfucker. You're a fucking weirdo. Why wouldn't I? If it was being done to you, you would do the same fucking thing. And if you wouldn't, then there's something wrong with you. Are they not Corey? No, I don't think it's Corey. I don't think it's her. For several reasons. They definitely do act like her and sound like her, but I don't think it's actually her. Because they definitely live on the East Coast, so. But again, I don't know who this person is. I don't know where the fuck they come from, So I'm pretty sure from the shit that they write and do, I think I'm like 99% sure I know who it is. But again, if it is that person, I still don't understand why they're so fucking angry with me. Because I'm sorry, you could sit there and use Laura and Molly Go Lately and all these other people to say that that's why you're mad, but that's not why you're mad. That is not why you're fucking mad, dude. I'm sorry, I don't buy it. I just don't buy that you're fucking that upset because I talked about fucking other women on the internet. You feel like I targeted you, but you're too much of a fucking pussy to come forward and just say like, here, you did this to me. Or that your reasoning behind what you're doing isn't really that valid. So you use Laura and fucking Molly Go Lately and whoever else I fucking talked about in a drama community to fight your case, but I didn't fucking do anything to you. I don't think. So whoever it is, they're trying to have some sort of control over you, but we know that won't happen. Yeah, I don't know what the fuck they're thinking. I do think they sent me that amongst other things, Sarah. Yes. I don't know what they think. I don't know what the end game is. Supposedly they're done. And if they are, great. Have a nice life, but still I'm a little creeped out. You know what I'm saying? Like, you're fucking weird. You could like you did this for more than 2 years. Solid. Like, it's a little fucking weird, dude. It's a little fucking weird. Hiding like a little bitch. You're fucking weird. You little pussy. I heard Laura said the other day, what's their name, clipped it, the number one fan channel, though that's not the name of their channel anymore, but they clipped it. And it was Laura saying that it's probably me. I don't know. She was in some chat saying that some troll account's me. I'm like, dude, since when the fuck do I need a troll account to talk shit about you, Laura? I want you to know it's coming from me. So I don't need a fucking troll account. I don't need to go into somebody's chat with a troll account to talk about you. I'll go in under my own fucking name if I want to talk about you. Like, I don't know why she assumed it was me. I don't even know what the name of the account was. But I was like, yeah, dude, like, honestly, why would I hide when I have no problem leaving comments about you everywhere else under my name? I'm not scared of you. Like, what the fuck? But again, I want her to know it's coming from me. Like, it's me, dude. Yeah, I'm the one fucking talking shit about you. But, it's a little different when you're fucking being a little bitch, hiding behind a fucking, fake account and not saying who you are. It's a little different. It's a little weird. It's a little fucking weird. Corey does it, fine. I know who Corey is. She can fucking talk about me all day. But this fucking weirdo, I don't know what the fuck their problem is. Nor do I really fucking care. I mean, I kind of care in a sense because I'm just like, wow, dude, what the fuck did I do to you? Like, and why can't you say it? That's the fucking weirdest part. I'm like, why can't you just say it? They've written several times that I can't resolve things, but I'm like, dude, I've asked you to come on my panel how many fucking times and have a conversation with me, and you refuse to come on my panel. Right? And I've asked you several times, like, what did I do to you? What's your problem with me? And you can't answer that question. They were unable to answer the question. So I'm like, I mean, it's fucking weird, dude. It's a little fucking weird. And I'm sorry, I'm not gonna buy that you're fucking so upset that I talk about Laura, dude. Shut the fuck up with that shit. Cause you don't give a fuck about Laura. Obviously, you take shots at her all the time. You say fucked up things about her. When they started trolling me under the Fresh Start account, they would talk shit about Laura. They called her a narcissist. And then like all of a sudden one day they flipped and they started being nice to her. But I'm like, you did not like Laura, dude. Let's just make that clear. Nor did you like Molly Golightly, because you also talk shit about them under that account. And then they're trying to distance themselves and say, oh no, that wasn't my account. But it's like, dude, all these accounts appeared in rapid succession. You went from Fresh Start. That account got struck by Alicia. So then you started the wrong one too, right? Well, I'm sorry, let me back that up. They started off as Fresh Start. Then they renamed it Fresh Start, the wrong one, Fresh Start, right? That Alicia, I think, struck them. Then so they made the wrong one too, that account. And then they came back doing the same thing. That's when they started doing the little clips of me on their channel when they were under that name, right? Then that account got struck by Alicia. They emailed her and asked her to like, oh, could you lift the strike, and said they were calling an attorney or some bullshit. And then she was like, no. So she didn't lift the strike. So that's when they started the Burgundy Blue channel, like within days. And they're trying to deny that it's them. I'm like, dude, like, are you serious? Like, you're really going to try to deny that was you? It's pretty fucking obvious, idiot. And then Alicia didn't strike the Burgundy Blue, because this is the second Burgundy Blue channel. Alicia struck the first one. Not Alicia. Somebody else did. I don't know who it is. They wouldn't say who it was. But somebody else struck their second channel. The third channel. No. Yeah, it was the third account that they had. I think it was like they were clipping Richard Grannon and then some other lady that talks about narcissists. And I think maybe it was one of them. I don't know. I don't know who struck him. I don't think it was Alicia, because they learned their lesson by that point not to use Alicia's shit, because she was going to strike you. So somebody else had to have struck them, or something with community guidelines maybe happened. I don't know. But their channel got terminated. No, I think it was a copyright strike, because I think you were able to see that somehow. And then they came back under this channel, and they've been there ever since, because I'm too fucking lazy to strike them. So lucky them. I'm just like, what's the point? You're going to strike them, and they're just going to come back with another channel. Why would I fucking waste my time? I hate searching for timestamps and all this other shit. Why? Like, you know what I'm saying? It's not even worth my fucking time doing that. Laura got everyone blocked is why. Hold on. Is why they respond to her via videos. Yeah, Laura has everybody blocked. That's the other thing. They're not blocked in my chat. They're welcome to come in here. I've invited them to come up on my panel several times. They always blame me why they can't come up on my panels. They're like, oh, you couldn't handle when Camel Queenie came up there. I'm like, I think I handled that bitch just fine. Thank you. Fuck that bitch. I don't owe anything to her. She was annoying. Whoever that troll was attacking you, and I have never had issues, but they wanted people to believe it was me. Yes, that's right. That was fucking weird, dude. And your child. That person, I believe, was from Laura's crew. Everyone hates me. That hates me was in my chat yesterday. I heard, Alicia, what the fuck? Wendy V, right? Came in there. Tracy, fucking bothered. The most bothered bitch on YouTube. And Burgundy was in there. Burgundy Blue Balls. Burgundoosh, as I like to call them, was in there too, huh? Lucky you. They won't even come in my chat anymore. That's how much of a fucking pussy they are. They won't even come in my chat. They like to lurk from the bushes and watch from their little fucking, hidey hole. Actually, they sign out to watch me. They sign out of YouTube to watch me, which is fucking weird too. It's like, who are you hiding that shit from? It's so creepy, dude. When they go in, like, even if they look at my social blade and shit, they go in like a private browser every time. And not just a private browser, they have their private browser locked so that say if like you leave a window open in your private browser, right, and somebody else has your phone, they would be able to just go to private and see what you're privately browsing. They have it where that if you go in your private browser, you have to unlock the phone before you can even see the private browser. Do you understand what I'm saying? So like obviously they're like hiding their stalking behaviors from somebody because they have it all, you know, in a private browser. Like why you have it in, why you have to look in a private browser, dude? Who you hiding your stalking from? It's a little fucking weird. So like they have to unlock it to just to view the page. They need, you know, the iPhone needs your face to unlock it, because you can see in the beginning of the video it says unlocked, you know, and you see the little thing spinning like it does when you open your phone up. And I'm like, what the fuck is that? Like, but I didn't realize that there's a setting where you can turn your private browser on, that like you need to unlock it just to get into the private browser. Like my phone right now, I can just flip back and forth from the private browser to the regular browser windows, and it doesn't matter. For their phone, you can't even get into their private browser without unlocking it first. Then you can get in there. And I'm like, that's fucking creepy, dude, that you went to that extent to like cover your tracks. It's like, it's a little fucking creepy, dude. Sorry. That's some creepy shit right there. Like you're hiding something from somebody. Yeah, it's obsessively weird. It's right. Obsessively weird. I mean, you could see it on their channel. Go on their channel, and if you look and see where the social blade is, or whatever playboard, I forget, whatever one they look at of mine, it's on private. But also, you can see in some of their videos that when they record me, it says incognito mode on the bottom, which means they're recording my lives from like when they're signed out. They sign out of YouTube so they can record my lives, which is fucking weird too, because that's another way of hiding your stalking. Like, so when you sign out, it doesn't keep your history of what you searched, right? So it's fucking weird, dude. I'm sorry. It's also probably because they're blocked by so many people. They could probably have to sign out to be able to see what's being said in my chat, because they blocked so many people. And I'm sure people have them blocked, so they want to see what everybody's saying. But I'm like, it's kind of creepy, dude. You're creepy. Like, that's like having that much privacy settings on your phone and shit, and incognito. That's some like serious signs of stalking behavior right there. You know that, right? Like you're trying to cover your tracks for some reason, and it's kind of creepy. Like that tells me that you know you're doing something wrong. If you have to hide all your fucking searches and all that shit, then something ain't right there, dude. That should tell you something. If you're sitting there covering up your tracks and hiding in incognito mode so that it doesn't record your search history, and hiding your fucking in your private browser that's locked, then you know you're doing something that's fucking weird. That tells me everything I need to know about you. So when you want to fucking sit around and wonder why I would fucking record you or fucking screenshot you, that's why. Because that's the signs of somebody who's calculated and fucking has taken very strong precautions to cover their tracks so people don't like see what they're doing. And that's fucking weird. Because it's like, what are you hiding? You creep. Yeah. That's fucking creepy, dude. And see, when you call it out, they're like, oh, you're trying to be a victim. No. I'm not trying to be a victim of anything. I'm just saying it how it is, dude. You are a creepy motherfucker. All right? And if, I'm sorry, all these people in chat agree with me. I mean, tell me if I'm wrong, but isn't that a little creepy? Tell me if I'm wrong. Because I'm willing to accept being wrong, you know? But I'm like, it's a little fucking weird, dude. It's a little fucking weird. And I'm not a victim. I just think you're fucking weird, dude. And I'm sorry. I'm not gonna just be like, oh, okay, yeah, just keep doing what you're doing, no problem. No, you're creepy, dude. Somebody who's trying to cover their tracks up like that, I'm sorry, you're creepy. You know you're doing something fucking weird, and that's why you're trying to cover it. So you don't want somebody to see it, you know. I don't know if it's the police because you plan on like killing me one day and you think the fucking evidence in your phone won't come to light. but I'm sure they could still get your private searches. But anyway, which they can. But I'm just saying, or if you have a spouse or somebody, a boyfriend or somebody in your home that looks at your phone, like your kid, and you don't want your kid to see what you've been doing, so you're hiding it from them, which is probably more likely the case, somebody's looking at your phone that you're worried about them looking at your phone, obviously. I mean, why else would you do that? I can't think of any other reason why you would be so, searching in private browsers, logged into incognito mode. It's a little fucking weird, dude. Little fucking weird. So if you wouldn't be creeped out by somebody doing that to you, well, I don't know what to tell you, dude. Especially when they're doing it behind a fucking, cloak of fucking anonymity. It's strange. Sorry, but it's a little off-putting. And if like you say otherwise, I don't know what to fucking tell you. But I'm not a fucking pussy. It's gonna fucking talk shit, about Laura and hide and not let her. I don't care. Laura, yeah, I talk shit about her. And Molly Golightly, I talk shit about her too. And guess what? There's a couple of other people on here that are fucking assholes that I've talked shit about. And, welcome to fucking YouTube drama community. It's not that one weirdo. No, she's not. No, they don't live overseas. They're definitely from America. And they definitely live on the East Coast. That I know for a fact. And you know who else lives on the East Coast? Christina. In my time zone. Christina. I know because there's been times where I've posted things and they've screenshot my posts within like minutes of me writing the post. And so I could see the time on the top of their screen. And it's obvious that they're in the same time zone as I am. You know what I'm saying? Like, so they'll screenshot. It's happened a few times where I've written posts and then they'll screenshot the post like maybe within 10 minutes of me writing it. And then they'll post it on their page. And so I could tell that they're in the same time zone as me because the time difference would be, you know what I'm saying? If they were like an hour behind me, I would be able to tell. Because YouTube tells you, okay, this post was what, 35 minutes ago. And if my post was 40 minutes ago and the times line up, then they're in my time zone. Christina was that fucking crazy bitch that was making videos about my grief series. She got really fucking like triggered. There was one episode of my grief series that flipped her. It was, and I still to this day, it must have triggered something from her own personal life. I'm assuming, I don't know. But there was an episode where I talked about my half sister. Okay. My mom and dad, this is when she started leaving nasty comments on my page, on my videos. I have two half sisters older than me that were my dad's kids, not my mom's kids, right? Throughout my entire life, they were both like in and out of our lives. A lot of shit happened. There was a lot of history there, but specifically with the younger of the two. The older one, she's fine. The younger of the two, she's like always kind of been like one of those people. It's like a compulsive liar in a sense. Like she makes up a lot of shit. And she would tell me when I was young, and I'd always like, she always like kind of bashed my parents all the time, And it's like, all right, dude, my dad, I get it, I get it. My dad wasn't like the father of the year. He wasn't winning the father of the year emotionally, award. But like, my dad was a provider. He took care of us. Like, you know what I'm saying? In that sense, he just wasn't like a dad who was going to hug you and, care about your day. But like, fine, he's still my father, no matter what. And I still love him. My mom, don't fuck with my mom, dude. You know what I'm saying? My mom, look, was she perfect? No, nobody's perfect. But my mom was the nicest person on the planet, dude. Like, there's nothing. I have never met a person that had a bad word to say about her. Ever. In fact, just recently, somebody wrote to me from like her job. And you're talking, this person hasn't worked with my mom in like 20 years. And they wrote me this like really nice long, message about my mom. and how much she touched their lives. And it was so sweet, you know, it was such a nice like letter to get. But anyway, back to my sisters. My sisters always had a fucking, you know, problem. My mom always tried with them. She, you know, she did. The younger of the two sisters, when she was in high school, she got mono one year and she missed like a substantial time of school amount of school. And so when she went back to school, they told her, I guess, that she would have had to like repeat the grade again or something like that. And she didn't want to do that. So she asked my dad if she could drop out of high school. My dad said, absolutely not. You're not fucking dropping out of high school in 10th grade. Okay. So then her mother forged my dad's signature and got her, like, you could do shit like that at this time. This is going back into like the 80s, you know? So my mom, I mean, her mom forged my dad's signature. My parents were going to put an extension on my house to build out the house so that that was the deal. She could come move with us and live with us, right? But she had to go to school. That was part of the deal. My parents were going to fucking spend like thousands of dollars to extend our house just so she'd have her own room. And then but the deal was she had to go to school. She didn't want to go to school. She was like, I'm not going to school. So her mother ended up signing her out of the house, out of school. Right. So whatever. Then she goes and gets married. She doesn't invite my parents to the wedding. My dad was like heartbroken. And I'll tell you right now, I've only seen my dad cry maybe 3 times in my entire life. That was one of them. But she always used to try to lie to me and gaslight me and tell me that, oh, your dad ripped up the invitation. I'm like, he did not, dude. Because my dad was crushed when he found out that she got married and she didn't tell him. She was always like, she would be mad at my dad. We went through periods of time where she wouldn't talk to us for like 5 years. And then all of a sudden she would come back like nothing ever happened. And this went on my whole life, my whole childhood. When my parents wrote their will in 1996, it was during a period of time where my sisters were not talking to my dad. They were mad over God knows what. She always found a reason to be mad. So my parents did not put them in the will. I thought it was fucked up at the time, but my parents explained to me that the money that they had that was going in their will was from my mom's lawsuit that she had, her settlement that she had, and that my dad did not feel that my sisters were entitled to my mother's money because they treated her like shit. So, okay, that's your decision. Did I agree with it? Not really, but that, you know, I was young at the time. I was in like 9th grade when this happened. Fast forward, my mom passes away. Same will, right? We're still working off the same will here. They're not part of the will. My sister writes to me out of the blue and asks me if I could give her $40,000 from the sale of my mom's house. And I'm like, oh, well, hold on. I should back that up just a little bit more. Sorry. Sorry. I forgot the big part of the story here. She stopped talking to us, okay, for years. Then all of a sudden one day, around the early 2000s, she calls us up again and she was pregnant. And now all of a sudden, after not talking to us for like 5 to 7 years, she wants to be part of our lives again. Why? Because she's having a kid, you know, she wants to have like probably people buy shit for her kid and everything like that. It's always about money with her all the time. So anyway, my parents every time welcomed her back in, open arms, acted like nothing ever fucking happened, right? So she's around now for probably like one of the longer periods of time where she's been in our lives. She actually ends up moving out here. She moved like over the next neighborhood over from where I lived at the time, right? With my parents. So, you know, she had the baby. We were an active part of the baby's life. My dad ends up dying the next year after the baby's born, right? So my mom, me, you know, my husband, my brother, we all kept in touch with her. Well, my brother didn't really keep in touch with her, but like we all kept in touch with her after that. One day, I'm not fucking shitting you guys. This is why she got mad at my mom. Well, she was mad at my mom for 2 reasons. One reason was because she thought something was wrong with her kid. And my mom just like simply suggested to her, like, why don't you bring her somewhere and get her evaluated? And she got mad about that, even though she was the one who brought it up. So that was one reason, but she was still talking to my mom. This is what set her off to the point where she stopped talking to my mom. This is fucked up. You guys are going to be like, what? But I have evidence. Like, this is a true story, dude. Okay. My mom invites them over for Christmas, just like she did every year. They were always came for every holiday. Okay. They always invited. even if they didn't come. And she used to piss my mom off because she would go eat McDonald's before she would come over because she's like a picky eater. Like, I'm a picky eater too, but like, I don't tell people what to make. Like, I'll find a way to eat. You know what I'm saying? Like, just make what you're making and I'll be fine. I'll eat bread to fill myself up. Like, I don't care. So my mom invites them over for Christmas and fucking they come over and no, I'm sorry, before they come over, she texts my mom and she's like, oh, she's like, could you, if you're making lasagna, could you leave the ham out of my piece? So my mom's like, what do you mean? Like, my mom put ham in lasagna. It was like literally like little tiny slivers of ham. I don't like ham either. So when I eat the lasagna, I just slide the ham out of the way. Or I just like, whatever. If I get a little piece of it in my mouth, I'm not going to die, you know? So she asked my mom to, now mind you, she's like in her 50s at this point in time. She asked my mom to not put fucking ham in her piece of lasagna. My mom's like, how do I know which piece you're gonna make? You know, like you're gonna eat. Like, it's a whole tray and it like flavors the whole rest of the lasagna. So she fucking threw a fit over this ham. And she started like messaging me. She's like, what if somebody put eggs in your lasagna? I'm like, well, I don't know. I eat around the eggs, just like I do when I eat fried rice. I don't eat the eggs, you know? Like, really? So she ended up not fucking coming for Christmas. She canceled on my mom Christmas morning and told my mom that the fucking baby was sick. Meanwhile, this is the reason why she's not talking to my other sister, like her sister, her full blood sister, was because they canceled on her on Christmas. But that's a whole nother story. So my mom went and bought all this food, you know, she canceled. So she would not fucking talk to my mom after this. Like, she was so mad about this fucking ham that she would not talk to my mom after this. So my mom was like, done. My mom's like, you know what? I mean, really, my mom tried so hard to like please this woman. And no matter what she did, my sister would find something to fucking be mad at her about. So my mom was just like, fuck her. My mom was mad that I was still talking to her. Cause like at this point in time, she wrote off our other sister, you know, and she's like all by herself. So she didn't talk to anybody. So I was like, you know, I felt bad. So I still talked to her. My mom used to be like, I don't know why you still talk to her. And I'm like, mom, she's a fucking head case. Like, there's something wrong with her mentally, you know, like she had a hard life. I get it, growing up with her mother. So, you know, I always try to be considerate of that she's had a hard life and that has contributed to her mental state as an adult. It's almost like she never grew up all the way, you know? So anyway, fast forward now to my mom passing away. She didn't talk to my mom for like 5 years prior to my mom dying at all. Would not talk to her at all. Then, oh, and also, that's a whole nother story, but it's just crazy. So, okay, fast forward now. My mom passed away. 5 years passed, okay? And my mom passes away. And I'm kind of keeping her updated a little bit of what's going on with my brother, you know, through Facebook. We would like message through Facebook. But I'm trying to tell her, like, dude, you know, this is just a nightmare. So all of a sudden one day I go on Facebook and I see this post that she wrote about my dad. Okay. Now, mind you, I just told you the whole story, so this will make sense. She writes this post. It was a Father's Day post. Okay. And she writes this fucked up post about my dad. And mind you, my dad's been dead at this point in time for 10 years. Let him rest in peace. Okay. Was he a perfect father? Not even fucking close. But let the man rest in peace. You know what I'm saying? Why are you shit talking him like this? And it's not even true. It's not even like she's telling the truth. So she writes on Facebook this post. She's like, oh, it's so nice to see everybody's, you know, really nice Father's Day posts, you know, with loving dads. You know, I didn't have that. Meanwhile, it's like, okay, well, your dad's died. You're a grown ass fucking woman, okay? So she goes, my dad left me out on my own, didn't pay no money for college. No money for college. What was the other thing? You know, didn't pay for my wedding. Okay. Which is like, are these things he's supposed to do? Like, he fucking, you know, paid his child support every month, even though your mom lied about it, but he had all this, you know, pay stubs. But anyway, okay. Fucking like, what do you mean no money for college? You never graduated high school. Why would you get money for college? Like, what the fuck are you talking about? You dropped out of high school in 10th grade and you're going to go on Facebook and bash my dad about fucking not giving you money for college when you didn't even graduate high school? Why would you get college money? And who do you think paid for my college? Because I'll tell you right now, my parents didn't. I did. You know, like, what the fuck are you talking about? So I'm like, okay, then the money for the wedding. Well, you didn't tell my parents you were getting married. So why would you get money for a wedding? And then she even brought up that my mom bought me Cabbage Patch Kid dolls and she got a towel for Christmas. Now, mind you, when I was the age that I was getting Cabbage Patch dolls, she's about 15 years older than me. And she said my mom bought her nothing for Christmas but a towel. And I'm like, first of all, I know that's not true because my mom would never give somebody a towel for Christmas. If she did, it would be part of like a whole like basket full of shit that she would give you because I know my mom. So she was like shit talking my parents. So I called her out on the post and I wrote, you know, like, oh, she was mad about some ring. I don't know that my dad had, you know, left my mom gave to me. It was my dad's ring when he died. She was mad about that. And then it was meanwhile, did she come to my dad's funeral? No. When my dad was sick with cancer, did she even come over and fucking see him? No. But now she wants his ring. Okay. She didn't even come to my dad's wake. She did not come to my dad's fucking wake. She didn't even go to her own mother's wake. So what do I expect? But anyway, my mom died. She didn't come to see my mom in the hospital. She knew my mom was sick. Never came to see my mom. Never called my mom to see how she was. Not even a fucking phone call to see like, hey, how you feeling, Carol? You know, sorry to hear that you're sick. Nothing to my mom. My mom died. She went to fucking King Cullen, which was a supermarket, bought a cheap $5 bouquet of flowers and fucking left it at the funeral home. She never showed up at the wake, nothing. And then she wanted $40,000 from my mom from the sale of the house because she said my dad paid $40,000 for the house in 1981. I'm like, they refinanced the house. I don't even know how many fucking times. And it's my mom's house. She's the one who paid the house off with her money. Okay. It's her house. My dad's $40,000 is long gone in the house. So fuck you. Okay. I might have considered giving her something if she didn't bash my parents like they were deadbeat pieces of shit on the internet first. Maybe I would have considered giving her something to help her out. But I seriously think my mom would have struck me dead at that point in time if I helped her. But my mom was so mad at her. But I was like, no, you're not getting shit, dude. You called my dad a deadbeat, dude. And if there was one thing my dad wasn't, it was a fucking deadbeat. That's the one thing about my dad, that he fucking paid his bills. He paid his fucking shit. Okay. Did he call you up and tell you he loved you? No. But he took care of what he had to take care of. Don't ever fucking call him a deadbeat. I was so mad, dude. So anyway, needless to say, I talked about this whole situation, not in that much detail, but I kind of went over the story about my sister very quickly in my grief series. It was that episode that I showed those messages that she wrote on Facebook. That's when Christina flipped. So something in that story triggered her. I don't know what happened in her family. I don't know if she had some issues with family members or something. I don't know, sisters, stepsisters. I don't know. But something in that episode triggered her and it flipped her. And I don't know what it is. I don't know how she related it to her life. But like, she was like, you were so selfish. And I'm like, dude, trust me, what she was asking from me, you know, versus what I got, it wasn't that much money. But like, why would I give somebody money who didn't even talk to my mom and dad when they were, you know, sick, didn't help, didn't pay, didn't even come visit them in the hospital ever, didn't come to their wakes. But not only that, went on social media and like in front of other family members made it out like my parents were these shitty people who like left her out to dry, which is like the furthest thing from the fucking truth. You know, why would I give her money? Like, why? And she's not in my parents' will. It's not my choice. I didn't write my parents' will. They wrote it. But, you know, if you didn't bash my parents and fucking, you know, call them shitbags, maybe I would have considered giving you something to help you out, you know, but I'm not going to give you anything when you're lying about my parents who aren't here anymore to defend themselves. Fuck that, you fucking asshole. So yeah, so that episode, whatever happened in that, it triggered her, and that's what started the videos and all that shit. That's when she started making all the videos. from that. And I don't know why. I don't know what it was. I don't know if she just felt like it wasn't fair. And I could see how somebody would think that's not fair, because at the end of the day, it's children and parents. But like, I didn't write my parents' will. They wrote it. I had no say. There's nothing you could do when a will's written. It's a 50-50 split no matter what. There's not, when it comes down to like actual money, it's 50-50. There's nothing you could do. There's no way you could get more money than the other person. You can't, no matter what. That's why, I mean, she missed the whole point, and I feel like a lot of people do, the grief series, is that all the fighting that was going on, all this bullshit that went on during me settling my mom's estate was not going to change anything at the end. Because at the end of the day, we were still going to get 50-50 split. You can't change that. So like, that's why that's the whole point of this series, is like, how ridiculous is it that people are fighting when there's nothing really to fight about? Everything's split down the middle. They're fighting over these like insignificant little things like TVs, and like, that doesn't count towards the estate. That's just like extra shit that you have to clean out. That's not like really valued in the estate. When they're evaluating assets in the estate, they're talking about like money, and like, okay, yeah, if you have a Picasso painting that's like worth, $60,000, then yeah, that's an asset. But like a TV, a fucking little Hummel statue, none of that shit is worth anything. They don't even count it in the estate. It's not counted as part of the estate. It's junk, basically. And my brother and his wife wanted to throw it all out, but then we're fighting about it. Told me multiple times, oh, you can take whatever you want. But then they're fighting about it. Like cameras, my mom's camera. How much? Her camera was like 5 years old at that point. You're talking maybe the camera's worth $100, and they're fighting over it. And it's not really considered part of the estate asset. So the whole point of the series is like, they're fighting for nothing. They're fighting me for absolutely nothing, because all this stuff, all the money, you can't, there's nothing you can do. It's split 50-50. Everything's in writing. Everything's on paper. So there's no way one of us could have gotten more money than the other. We were both going to get 50-50 no matter what. So what the fuck were you giving me such a hard time about the whole time? Over all this insignificant shit that didn't even matter, because it's not worth anything. An old iPhone, what is it, worth $50? These aren't people that are hurting for money. My brother and his wife, they were, well-to-do. His wife has tons of money. Like, you're fighting me over, like, my mom's, fucking photo albums that aren't worth anything? Get the fuck out of here. God, am I so happy I didn't give them those photo albums now. Whew, am I happy. Oh, am I happy. I have a demon sister-in-law. She broke 2 families. Proof is all there for all the public to see. Very sad situation. Well, yeah, I know, Huck. I know your story too, and it sucks. But I'm gonna have an amazing update for you guys one day with that, and maybe I'll get into it. But I'm not gonna get into it now. But it is. Whew, it is. Yeah. I can't really get into it. A few people know, but one day I'm going to give you guys the tea, but just not now. Maybe in like a year. But yeah, I don't know. So something in that episode triggered her, and that's why she started making the videos. I assume. I don't know. That's when she turned, and that's when she started leaving me comments that were like negative on my videos, and she's like, you're selfish. And I'm like, I'm really not though, dude. But like, first of all, if somebody didn't talk to your mom for 5 years, would you feel inclined to give them something? My mom was so mad at her when she was, for 5 years before my mom died, she didn't fucking talk to her. So like, my mom didn't want her having anything, and not anything. My dad had already been gone for 10 years at that point in time. Like, nothing in the house was his anymore. Like, my dad was gone. When he died, he didn't have anything. He didn't have money. He was driving a fucking bus. I don't know if she thought my dad had some like sick retirement or something. My mom collected his Social Security. When my mom died, that was it. That was the end of my dad. She collected some of his Social Security, and then He didn't have anything else. No bank account, no nothing. Nothing. Nothing to give to to us. And I don't know, except his car, but we sold his car. So we got like what, $3,000 for his like Lincoln Town car. That was like 10 years old at the time or whatever. Yeah, it was 10 years old when he died. So it's like there was nothing though. And then as far as possessions went, he had a ring. He had like 2 rings and a watch and a pair of sunglasses. My dad was, and his clothes and cologne and shit. My dad was the most basic ass motherfucker on the planet. He didn't need, like, he didn't collect anything. He didn't have anything like valuable. Like, he was just a very, I don't know, he didn't have anything. The final episode? What do you mean? Oh, yeah, yeah. When I get to that, oh my god, I won't talk about it now because, but yeah, it's pretty major. I'll put it like that. But yeah, I mean, look, everybody has dysfunction in their family, and anybody who says that they fucking don't, you're a liar. I'm sorry, but you're a fucking liar. There's some people that have like perfect families and everybody gets along, and my family was like that up until a couple of years before my mom, well, a couple of years before my dad died. And we had a horrible situation happen in my family, and it fucking, changed people and divided people. But it was pretty much, our family was like the family that everybody was jealous of because we were so close. No, I haven't talked to my brother since 2018. I think it was the last time I saw him, but like I really didn't even talk to him. I haven't had a normal relationship with him since 2013, but I haven't actually had a conversation with him since then. Like any we talked during my mom's estate maybe twice, but it was very it wasn't a conversation that I would consider like a normal conversation. So between him and I, it was like all business. There was no heart in it. There was no talking about how my mom passed away and how sad it is. It was literally like, you're allowed to talk to your sister because the lawyers made you. Okay. And here's your fucking conversation. This is what you're going to talk about. And I'm going to scribble in the background where you could hear it. And yeah. But it's going to be all about business and nothing else. No, how is your kid, or, how's life, or how you dealing with your grief, or anything like the normal conversations I would have had with him had his wife not been in the picture. Yeah, we would have had those conversations. But yeah, I haven't said, I haven't seen him. I haven't said a word to him since 2018, probably. That was the last time I saw him, which is like mind blowing to me. But at this point in my life now, I'm so used to it. I don't even like the thought of him being back in my life would be weird because I feel like it's been 10 years and I'm just kind of used to him not being around at this point in time. And to be honest, like, I just don't need your drama, dude. So keep it over there. Like, that's how I feel. But, you know, I lost another good friend on the 6th. Oh, no, I'm sorry to hear that, Zizi. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. What happened? Well, you don't have to say if you don't want to. No stranger should ever talk bad on another stranger's family drama. It doesn't always mean it's their fault. It means you have your own issues. Yeah. Look, dude, I didn't ask for it. I didn't want to I did not want this in my life, dude. I didn't ask for it in my life. I didn't want it in my life. I tried everything I could to not have it be that way, but it just got to a point where I was like, for my own sanity, I can't talk to you, dude. I can't be around your wife. Okay. I hate her. And it just has to be that way. It has to be. And then, unfortunately, when you cut off certain people in your family, you have to cut off, it's really my brother and 2 of my mom's sisters that I have an issue with, that I actually had like a problem with. The rest of my family, it's just, they're like just collateral damage in a sense, because I'm like, I had to, for my own well-being, I had to cut off talking to everybody collectively, because like I kept just telling myself like you can't get better in the same environment you got sick in. Like, you know, like there's been so much shit going on for so many years after this situation that I was dealing with that I shouldn't have been putting situations I was putting myself in that I shouldn't have been putting myself in because of my family's like toxic thinking. You know, I don't know if people like when you have a larger family where the siblings are all really still close as adults, they're and they're still enmeshed in each other's lives. It's very toxic, you know. They're still very like enmeshed in each other's lives and everything, and it could it could end up toxic. But there's also another dynamic that happens with families with a lot of siblings, and I don't know if any of you guys, you know, have experienced this, but especially when they're still very close with each other, there's like a totem pole in the family. And this is in every family, there's a hierarchy in a family, right? And so it's usually the older siblings are the ones who, you know, kind of take the reins and take control of the younger siblings. And it happens even into adulthood, even when they're still friends with one another. and and what happens is the older sibling ends up kind of controlling the whole family, especially when that older sibling is the one who's always hosting the parties and taking care of the grandparents and shit like that. And so there becomes this like it's like everybody adopts their thinking into their, you know what I'm saying? Like the younger people have to adopt the same thinking as the older people. If you disagree, then you're going to be the fucking outcast of the family. So everybody has to just kind of go along with that one person's way of thinking, even if they don't agree with them. Because there's plenty of people that don't, but they go along with it because it's like go along to get along. Do you understand what I'm saying? I decided not to do that anymore. You know, I decided I don't need to be part of this. Like, but unfortunately, there's still people in my family that I love and I care about, but I just can't have them in my life because having them in my life means having that connection to the people I don't want to be connected to. Like, so I have to cut off the connection to the people because everybody's so tightly knit in my family. If you're close to one of them, even if you're not talking to another one, that person's still going to know everything about you and be involved in your life and still try to control the relationship you have with the other person. So I had to cut off certain people because of that, because I'm like, I don't want to have that. I don't want to put anybody in a position where they have to feel like they have to hide something from somebody or, you know, like talking to me or, you know what I'm saying? So it's just easier if I just go away for everybody. It's just easier if I just remove myself from the situation because I'm not going to change, you know, 20 people. I'm not going to put 20 people in an awkward position when it's me. I'm going to remove myself from the situation. I didn't want to do it. I had to do it. I'm not gonna stress, you know. I had years ago when I didn't have my kid and my, you know, my husband, and I put my family, my extended family before anything. That's different. I have my own family now, dude. I have to be mentally healthy for my family, not for these people, you know, for my family. They're still my family, but they're secondary now. My family that I have in my house, that's my priority in life. Okay? And if I'm dealing with all this other shit constantly, drama from all these other fucking crazy people, how am I going to be a good mother to my kid, you know, or a good wife to my husband? I can't. So it had to go. And unfortunately, because there's people in my family that I really miss and I think about all the time, but I just like I don't want that connection to the two people, my two aunts. That's it. I don't want that connection to them. And because I know the dynamics in the family and how much those two specific aunts have control over everybody's fucking minds, I had to cut myself off from everybody else. And it sucks. But it's like I there's a power imbalance in the family, and I'm not gonna win that. I'm not gonna win. You know, I'm not gonna win. It's sisters over niece, sisters over cousin. You know what I'm saying? I'm a cousin. I'm a niece. I'm not. I'm not a daughter. You know, I'm not a sibling. I'm not their sibling. It is what it is. So does it suck? Yeah, sometimes. But at the same time, I've never felt so fucking stress free in my life. And I didn't even realize it until I was like probably 2 years out from not talking to them, that I was like, holy shit, dude, maybe that's why I was having anxiety attacks all the time. Cause I haven't had one in like a year, you know? And I'm like, I thought the anxiety attacks, like, I thought that's just how I was. And I'm like, no, I think it was because of like, not them, not them, nobody was causing anxiety. I'm saying the situations that I was putting myself in because of my family is was is what was causing my anxiety. Now that I'm not in those situations anymore, I don't have the anxiety anymore. And I'm like, holy shit, it's crazy. It's fucking amazing, actually. Family isn't always blood related. Just remember that. That's so true. So true. I never in a million years thought I would be estranged from any of my family members. That was like so not even like a thing that would happen in my family, let alone for this length of time. In my dad's side of the family, it was, but like I don't even know my dad's side of the family. I'm talking about my mom's side of the family that I was so close with always, my whole life. I hung out with my cousins. We used to go to bars together. Like we were tight knit family, like real tight. And I never in a million years thought I would be in a situation where I was like estranged from everybody. But it just like that's the way that the fucking cards fell. Like it just did. It just did. And you know what? It is what it is. It's fine. I'm fine about it. It's funny that like other people online have more of a problem with it than I do. Like I'm fine with it obviously because it was my choice to back away and just not talk to people. And what do you call it? I'm fine with it. Do I miss people? Of course I do. I miss, my cousins that I was tight with, like certain ones, I do, but I just I don't want that connection in my life right now. I still don't want it. I thought maybe in like years I would be like, okay, I'm ready to like talk. And at this point in time, after being away from it for so long, when you're like out of a situation, you gain more perspective the further away you get. I'm like, ugh, I don't want to even invite that back in my life again. Like, I just don't want it. I don't want the fucking, I know if I reached out, I mean, most people would probably respond back at this point in time, but I just don't even want to. They want something to use against you. Yeah. I'm like, I don't, you're more upset about me not talking to my family than I am. You know, like, it's like, okay. But I'll tell you right now, I'm hardly the one thing I learned is that I am hardly the only person in the world that's not talking to a lot of their family members. That's all I can say. Or that's estranged from family members. And there's definitely people in my family I don't want to be like estranged from. But it's not like we didn't have a fight, we didn't have a problem. It's just that the connection to the other people that I do have an issue with, I don't want to have that connection. And unfortunately, it's going to be there. And for me to ask somebody else to like separate it is not fair. That's not fair for me to do. Like my cousin that I was very tight with one of my cousins. I was the best, maid of honor in her wedding. It's her mother that I have an issue with, right? That I feel like I can never forgive or get over. Why would I put her in a position where she has to feel some kind of tension or I love her. I care about her. I don't want to put her in that position where she feels like she has to, hide things from her mom if her and I talk or her mom's going to badger her because I know how she is, if we have a conversation or she's going to try to use her as a flying monkey to get at me, like tell Leanna this because that's what she was doing when we stopped talking. She would, use the members of the family that I was still left talking to at the time, she would use them as flying monkeys, like, oh, you better let Leanna know this. You better let Leanna know that. And it's like, bitch, if you want to talk to me, call me up. You have my fucking number. Why are you using other people as your microphone? Just call me up. What the fuck? Stop getting all these other people involved. And that's what made me decide to pull away from everybody because I was like, this is toxic, dude. And it's not fair to the people who she's putting in the middle of an issue that she has. I mean, if it's mine and your issue, why are you putting your daughter in the middle, your sister in the middle? Stop doing that. I didn't do that. I didn't ask my aunt, well, oh, tell Aunt so and so this, and Debbie, I called her in the series. I didn't do that to people because if I had a problem, I would fucking contact her. I didn't want to put other people in the middle of our shit. But she used to do it constantly. She would be like, tell Leanna this, tell Leanna that. And then these people are going through their own things in life. They don't need to be burdened with this, So I was like, fuck this. I'm just done. I'm not talking to anybody. Because anybody I had contact with, she would use them like that. And I'm like, this is not fair to everybody else that you're using all these people as a way to get to me. How is that fair to everybody? You know, what she's trying to do is trying to cause tension between me and the other person, you know? So she's like, oh, well, tell them this, tell her that, you know, and trying to like get her message to me when it's like, bitch, you know my number, you know where I live. You want to talk to me, you can fucking call me up or come to my house. But, you know, don't fucking use other people to fucking do your dirty work, you bitch. Sorry, I shouldn't call her a bitch, you asshole. but you know what I'm saying? Like, that's not fair. That's not fair to the people you're putting between us. Like, why are you doing that to people? Just if you have something to say to me, just you know how to get in touch with me. You know, you can unblock me on Facebook and you could write to me through Facebook. You can unblock me on Instagram and write to me on Instagram. But you blocked me, but you still want to talk to me. What kind of sense does that make? You know? But don't put my aunt in the middle of it, you know. Or there was one of my mom's sisters that I was always tight with and still talking to. And every time I would talk to her, that's what would happen. She'd be like, oh, well, you know, Debbie said, tell Leanna this, tell Leanna. And I'm like, nope, sorry, not doing it. Not doing it. I'm like, you know, that's not fair. And I know she would do the same thing to her daughter and she would do it to everybody else and she even didn't use my husband like that. She would fucking message my husband and tell my husband to tell me things. And I'm like, who are you talking to? My husband's a grown man in his 40s and you're calling my husband up to tell him to tell me things? Get the fuck out of here. Call me up yourself. Like, who does that? It would never do that. I would never call up another third party and be like, oh, well, you know, tell this person to tell that person this. I don't do that. If I have a problem with you, I'll tell you right to your face. That shit is so toxic, dude. So toxic. That's what, and you know what? I don't think my aunt even knows that it's toxic. That's the thing. I don't think she's doing it because she's trying to be toxic. She I think she just thinks that that's okay to do. She thinks it's a normal behavior to do that. So, you know, when she was doing it, I think that she thinks it's okay. I don't think she's evil. Well, she's kind of evil, but she, you know what I'm saying? I don't think she's toxic. I think it's just how she is, you know? I don't know. I don't know what it is. Yes, Laura does do that. Yes. But like don't use other people. It's so fucked up. So if I have to distance myself from those people to give those people peace, then I'll do that. That's why I always said I'll take myself out of the equation because it's much easier to do that. Remove myself because I'm not gonna change other people, you know. And I don't think it's fair to put other people in positions where they have to deal with the shit that has nothing to do with them. So it is what it is. Taste the raw, sarah, right? I found money owed to my late father, and it was in my mom's name. Hold on. With the State Department of Revenue, I had to claim. Ooh, get out of here. That's good. Oh, shit. Somebody else took the money. Damn. That's not fucking cool. I wouldn't be surprised if my brother did shit like that. Sorry, I'm watching Proctor. Oh, what do you mean ABC special? I'm canceling my cable. He said I claimed the money and pocketed it. No, dude, I didn't. I just clicked claim now to find out the amount. Oh, shit. Where was this? I found money owed to my father. Huh. State Department of Revenue. That's interesting. How did you even know to look there? Oh, I can't believe he's on TV. Fuck, I'm missing it. What do you do though, Kate? See, Huck, I don't watch TV. I was on the phone with my cable company for like hours this morning because somewhere along the lines my bill got fucked up. And I owe like an extra month. And I was fighting with them because the lady could not explain to me how I owed what I owed. It was like, so I just ended up paying. I was like, fuck this. I hate cable. Cablevision is the name of the company here. But I'm like, I've been telling my husband, because I'm like, I don't care if you cancel the TV, because I haven't watched TV, like actual TV, in probably a decade. Like, even if there's a show I want to watch, I find it online and I stream it on my phone. I haven't actually turned a TV on and used the remote control in, like, I don't even know how long. So he's the only one that really watches it. My son doesn't watch it either. We watch YouTube, and then I'll have, like, all right, I'll watch Netflix here and there. And I have Peacock and I don't know, whatever else. So finally today he's like, cancel it. But after I get off the phone with them, I'm like, well, I'm not calling him back today and canceling it. I'm like, I'll fucking call him tomorrow. I was on the phone with them for like so long. I'm like, dude, I can't sit on the phone. But he's like, well, he only really watches hockey. He's like, pretty much everything else I watch is on my phone anyway. So I'm like, there's really like no point to having like regular TV anymore. So, which I was like telling them, because back in the day, if you used to tell them you were going to cancel and like go to like our only other option here at the time was satellite, like I'm talking about before streaming services became available, they would like be like, all right, we'll give you a discount. They would like suck your ass to like get you fucking to stay with them. I tried telling them today. I was like, well, if you're going to charge me for this, I'm probably going to cancel. And they were like, bye, bitch. Like, they didn't seem to care at all. I was like, well, your customer service went down the shitter, huh? And they're hiking my bill up $35 next month, okay? For $35 a month. So I was like, I said to them, I go, why are you hiking my bill up for $35? That's like outrageous. And they're like, oh, the what'd they call it? I thought she said it was like a courtesy or something. And I'm like, oh, okay. I said, so how about when you guys were having a fight with MSG over your contract with them for the last year? So I was paying for MSG, which is fuck. Oh, all right. My husband was calling. I was paying for MSG, right? But you took it away from me because you were fighting with them. So where's my credit for that? I was like, are you kidding me? So I was like, whatever. I'm done with it. I'm going to have to call them again tomorrow. I couldn't bear sitting on the phone with them again for another fucking hour. So I'll get on the phone with them tomorrow. But it's like $270 something a month for fucking cable. That's with internet and everything included. But I'm like, fuck this. Like, I don't need it. I finally got my husband to say, he's like, I really don't watch it anymore. I'm like, thank God. So I'm like, dude, that's a lot of money. Even if it's $100 a month that we're saving. It's like pretty good. But all right. Anyway, he's calling me, and that probably means he's on his way home and wants to get dinner. So let me call him back because I'm starving. And I'll catch up with you guys again sometime this week. It was lovely talking to you guys. And I'm happy that we got a not guilty verdict. So hopefully they find out what happens if they still continue to search through this whole thing. But anyway, it was great talking to you guys. Yes, the antenna. Tell me in Discord, Huck, which one you have, because we were talking about that. All right. See you guys later.